You ready for Josiah and my friendship to end right now? I'm so scared to say this. I voted for. I did not vote for Hillary Clinton in 2016. Um, I know. I know. I know. I'm sorry. I feel like I don't think he knew this about me. And I think that I voted for.
So
Yeah.
now, what do you want to talk about Cornell West? Do you
I'm
want to talk about the voting? What do you want to talk about? This is your
I'm
turn.
not so I don't I know I established myself as, generally far left, but I do have criticisms of progressives and I do want to voice my frustrations with Cornell West for a
Okay.
little bit,
I'm going
especially
to do one
people.
thing here. I'm going to let you
Yeah.
present it to the person, to the people, our many viewers, and I've got to get
Yeah.
my DoorDash. So I'm going to take myself off camera while you present the
Very
case.
professional. Okay. Sounds good. All right. So, essentially, Cornel West announced his presidency through the People's Party. My general frustration is it feels like leftists or pretty far extreme progressives seem to put forth only the most insane positions possible that are not realistic, that are unhelpful, and generally speaking, are worse than Biden. Because I'm all for criticizing Biden. I'm all for saying, hey, we need to have a more progressive position than Joseph Biden. But Cornel West's foreign policies are a little silly. And generally speaking, hey, how's it going, bud? I don't know if you heard what I was saying, but can you hear me? Okay, sounds good. Generally speaking, if we look at, hold on, I had it pulled up. Just one moment.
If you want to send me the link, and then I'll share the screen. That way, everybody else can see it too.
Yeah, for sure.
See, it's amazing how dedicated I am to helping you out. I wish you reciprocated. It's a one-sided friendship.
True. What's for lunch, Ruminate?
Chinese takeout. No, I lost it in the sweet and sour sauce. No.
Yeah.
You send me the link. There it is.
Yeah, I did.
Cornel West 24 for president. I know he's got your vote.
True. And I want to out myself here. I don't think that this is stuff that Josiah knows about me. I generally get frustrated with these types of people because I used to be this type of person. You ready for Josiah and my friendship to end right now? I'm so scared to say this. I voted for I did not vote for Hillary Clinton in 2016. I voted for Green Party. I know. I'm sorry. I feel like I don't think he knew this about me. And I think that I voted for.
All right, so that was the official end of my friendship with Stacks. I don't even know. Oh, I'll get him back in here so I can yell at him real quick.
I no, but that is something that like I used to be that like very far left progressive who was like, no, this is like we I will not vote for Hillary Clinton because I feel that she is so it's okay, hold on. I was living in a red state anyway. It was gonna vote red no matter what, and it did vote red no matter what. I didn't feel like my vote mattered. And so I was like, oh fuck it. I'll just vote for Jill Stein. I don't care. So I have a lot of sympathy for these people who were so far progressives that they feel like they can't vote for Joe Biden. And I am here to speak to you guys because I assume that maybe there's some in our audience, especially because. Okay. Anyway, Cornel West is essentially the 2024 version of Jill Stein. But I will say I didn't. Let's look at his policies real quick here. Scroll all the way down. Some of these I stand for quite a bit. His Medicare for all, guarantee healthcare to all, like every other major country on earth. I think that's a very positive policy, one that you should fight for, protect the environment, clean up pollution in our food, water, and air, tackle climate change. And then you sort of look over to your left-hand side and you see the end the wars thing. That sounds interesting. End the wars. I'm in favor of ending wars. Bring our troops home and invest those trillions of war dollars into American communities. Support veterans. And here we go. Stop all foreign military aid. Close the bases. Disband NATO. And ban nuclear weapons globally. First off, I guess my frustration is I used to be of this opinion. I used to say, Stacks looks like actor Chris O'Dowd. Check a picture. Amazing. I've never heard that similarity. But I guess I get frustrated quite a bit with this pacifist route to global and foreign affairs, so much so that it essentially incentivizes imperialism, if that makes sense. Generally speaking, Josiah, you want to join me in, or are you too hungry?
I'm listening intently. I'm still recovering, quite frankly, from the Jill Stein
From the Jill
betrayal.
Stein thing.
Yeah, I don't know what I have to offer here. You betrayed everybody.
Straight up, Elle from the friend of the show. She like straight up like stopped talking to me for like 3 days after I told her that.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna join her. It should be 3. We should talk to you only for 3 days, really, quite frankly.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I guess what I'm saying is I understand. I used to be of that like very anti-war, anti-establishment, anti how much money we spend in foreign progress until I saw what happened with Ukraine. And I was like, oh, gotcha. When a country is invaded, it's actually good to send resources to them to make sure they can defend themselves. And sometimes I get frustrated by the quality of progressive candidates because I would like to have someone more progressive than Joe Biden. I think that he's been an overall generally very progressive president, but I am in favor of more progressive than him. And I just don't think I get frustrated every time a candidate seems to come up and it looks like this, if that makes sense. It's unserious. And also he tied himself to the People's Party, which is like this anti-vax political party that got founded by what's his name?
Well said. Then he changed it in 5 minutes.
Yeah, he changed it to the Green Party. Yeah, he moved it like almost immediately. But the People's Party is just like it's embroiled in like anti-vax rhetoric, and I just sometimes get so frustrated because I do want a more far left position, but it always seems to be occupied by the most unserious people on planet Earth. And this is just a reminder to vote for Joe Biden because the alternatives. The alternatives are another Jill Stein, where they're going to occupy 0.5 or like less than 1% of the overall
margin.
vote. Yeah, and really just like what was the point of all this? I don't really see one.
So I'll say this. I'll weigh in since I have now enough calories in me to sustain myself. So sidebar. Okay, listen, I was hungry. I was ravenous. I was out last night with friends, and it was a lot of calories. Okay, like it was a very active evening. Whereas I was out hanging out with friends, you know, being active, clubbing it up.
What did you? What? Friends?
Yes, FRIENDS. People who willingly, voluntarily associate with you, often in public and without shame.
I feel like every time I get close to that, I mention that I voted for Jill Stein, and then they just
that would be a friendship killer, 100%. Your friends, the only friends who would find that acceptable are Republicans. You would have Republican friends; they would love.
Well, no, they don't really like Jill Stein either.
Yeah, but they like the fact that you didn't vote for Hillary Clinton.
That is true.
Yeah. So whereas when you are out till 3 or 4 in the tell everybody what you do when you're out till 3 in the morning recently.
I don't know what reference this is. What was I doing?
What were you out super late doing? Your favorite hobby?
Oh, you're making fun of the fact. Yeah, I went to a pre-release. It was a Magic the Gathering night, and I was there till like 7 in the morning. Yeah, it started at midnight. Yeah,
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that for?
I was like, last night I went to bed at like 9 p.m. and woke up at like 6. It was great.
Yeah.
No,
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? Could you repeat what you did the other night? I'm sorry. What was that again? A pre-release?
It was a Magic the Gathering event that I was up till 7 a.m. There were prizes for the top 16. I got 17th place. So well worth my evening.
And there were 15 people. There were
No,
15 people, but you
there
still
were
got 17th
yeah,
place.
yeah.
So listen, okay, I will not be mocked for needing to calorie load, okay? I will
No,
not be
that's fine.
derided by you. Um, having said that, though,
Yeah.
it is profoundly unserious, right?
Yeah, and that's just what it feels like is yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say it's profoundly unserious, virtually impossible, and I think that obviously the president, hypothetically, if Cornel West were to become president, which obviously he will not, the president is given enormous discretion as commander in chief over like the operational elements of the military, right? Like basically virtually all discretion. But in terms of like broad military policy, the president couldn't disband NATO. He would need congressional support to do it, and there are probably elements within NATO where he'd have to get the other
Yeah.
NATO countries to also agree.
Like obviously we have the biggest say in
Right.
NATO, but certainly not we're not the end all be all.
Right. Precisely. I mean, and so it's also dangerous too. I mean, like the idea that, you know, and ban nuclear weapons. Okay, how would you
Like
do
what
that?
does that mean? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. What does that mean? Banning nuclear weapons globally? Cuz that sounds great.
Oh, hell
How
yeah.
do you do I would love to just get rid of nuclear weapons globally. What that generally means is we will all get rid of our nuclear weapons. Russia will keep their nuclear weapons because why the fuck would they listen to us? Uh, they're our antagonists generally, and then just invade all of the Eastern European countries and like wage war continuously. And we just have like a hey, as long as they're not invading America, it's fine.
And Iran and North Korea would be like, sure, you can
Yeah,
ban all nuclear weapons. We don't have any to ban. And then they continue to do what they do.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And it's just it feels I guess unserious is just the best way to put it. That like this all sounds so nice and dandy, but it's such an unrealistic and unserious way of looking at the world and way of looking at foreign policy. And I get frustrated with my fellow progressives because this is who we're siding with now. Like
Well,
I
I don't
get
know.
Joe Biden isn't everything we wanted. I get it. I get it. But
Yeah, so it's interesting on President Biden because I want to say this. Well, screw it. I'll just shoot from the hip. He was not my first choice in the primary. He wasn't my
right,
second choice in the primary. He wasn't my third choice in the primary. I don't even know if he was the fourth, to be honest with you. It
I
was
100%
Bernie. It was
agree.
Buttigieg. It was Warren. I
Warren, yeah.
basically had everybody who was more progressive than Joe Biden ahead of Biden. Listen, Joe Biden is not personally progressive. I think, if left to his own devices, Joe Biden is just an establishment, kind of middle of the road Democrat who likes to be friends with everybody. Now, because the Overton window has shifted a bit, his version of moderate in 2023 is more leftward than it was in 2003, than in 1993, and so on and so forth. But he himself is not even relatively speaking in today's era progressive. His administration, however, has been
Yeah.
the most progressive since Lyndon Baines Johnson or arguably FDR. Now, that
Yeah.
might not mean much to certain online progressives, but that has made a world of difference for people who are actually affected by policy, which
Yeah.
matters. So I have
And
friends that I follow on Twitter that are more progressive than me, who are they loathe Biden. And I mean,
yeah.
they dedicate their entire lives and their tweets to smack talking Biden and the Biden
Yeah.
administration. And they're very much cut from the Brianna Joy Gray
Yeah.
cloth, which just in terms of political efficacy, in terms of like the political, I have no respect for that. I can have respect for a person, but that particular viewpoint, which is just, if it's a choice between Hillary
No harm
and
reduction.
right, yeah,
No
yeah,
harm reduction.
yeah. If harm reduction doesn't factor into your politics, you just simply have an unserious, unsophisticated view of politics that really doesn't matter,
Yeah.
right? And listen, I do believe, I'll say this, like I've also come to appreciate perpetually unsatisfied progressives, because I do think that the whole point is there should be a vocal element of the left that is also strategic, but that doesn't let people rest on their laurels. As much as I like President Biden, I think that if he weren't being constantly pushed by progressives, I think Joe Biden's instincts would be to kick back.
100% agree with
So
this.
I'm glad AOC and Bernie are in his ass all the time. No, Mr. President, this isn't far enough. You keep going, you keep going, you keep going. And he should. He should get that pressure constantly, because some of the best things to come from Biden's administration are because of progressives, because of Bernie Sanders, because of AOC, because of the Progressive Caucus in the House. And so the very things that Biden is now claiming credit for, which he is right to do so, had he not had the support and the vocal pushing of the Progressive Caucus, they wouldn't be feathers in his cap. He owes them. And honestly, too, it's another funny thing, because as we get towards the 2024 election, there's credible reporting that Biden has been trying to moderate, because he has this mentality. And I think there's basis for it, by the way. Joe Biden's not an idiot, and he's been a very successful politician for 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
But the instinct is, okay, I'm a centrist or a moderate. I have governed as a progressive, but now I'm running for re-election. And in this political climate, I need to moderate my rhetoric further and try to like swing back to the center. That is the conventional wisdom. There's some merit to that, but it's also really frustrating for progressives, because they're like, dude, I know you talk about how great moderates are and centrists are, and we need them. We need Manchin. We need Sinema, which is true, but you also need Bernie Sanders. Like the margins are so slim. People only consider one side of the calculus. Well, if Biden wants to get anything done, he needs the moderates to vote. You also need the progressives to back it too, dumbass. Because if you lose the progressive vote, you don't win. Mm-hmm. So Biden has an obligation, yes, at times, to appease the moderates, to appease Joe Manchin, to appease Kyrsten Sinema, as annoying as it is, because he does need them. But there are times he needs to do whatever Bernie Sanders wants too, because he needs Bernie Sanders too. He needs AOC too. He needs Rashida Tlaib too. He needs Ilhan Omar too. He has to serve these people at different times in different places, and it's a judgment call. But my fear is centrists, establishment centrists, somebody like Biden, tend to only vote. They take it for granted that they're going to get the progressive vote. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So
because
no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I do think that because progressives always have the mindset of harm reduction, as good as it is, we will vote for essentially anything that appeases to centrists as well. And that is kind of it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, harm reduction.
Well, I'll give you an example of where recently progressives kind of deviated from it or threatened to, and I was actually all for it. I'm like, good, push Biden, pressure him over the debt ceiling negotiations.
Yeah, there
was an uprising, and where progressives in the House and the Senate threatened to not vote for any deal that he made with McCarthy. And I hope, I mean, obviously, again, it's in the past, the deal was passed, but I hope Joe Biden lost sleep at night for weeks over this, because he needed to be fearful. He needed to be terrified into not giving away the farm, because I do think, and there's evidence to support this, as great of a negotiator as Joe Biden is, and he's proven it, I think he's just too overly generous. Like, it's in his instinct to be generous with the other side.
Sure.
And I think had he been left to his own devices, he would have given the farm away to McCarthy just to make a deal. So from what I've read, part of the reason that deal was so structured in a way to benefit Democrats on the whole compared to Republicans, I think is in large part because Biden knew if he gave away too much, more and more progressives wouldn't vote for it. And there's a deal that he would have egg on his face and preside over an economic ruin. So I'm glad progressives told him, Mr. President, if you're going to negotiate, you better be effing careful how you do it, because we might just withdraw our support. Good. I love that. That was BDE from the Progressive Caucus, and I hope Biden sweated over it, because my fear is for this next election cycle, you should only be generous to Republicans only ever. At any other time, it is morally reprehensible to do this, only when it is strategically valuable. Otherwise, you shouldn't give them shit. You should always defer to progressives and only ever be bipartisan when you absolutely desperately need to. So that urge of Biden just to be like, jovial Uncle Joe, and listen, man, I've got friends on the other side. No, kill that urge, Mr. President. Just choke the life out of it so I can smile. I don't know what this has to do with Cornel West.
I was enjoying the tangent anyway. I was like, this is just classic Josiah.
Yeah.
But no,
I don't like the Republican Party. I think that's what I'm getting at. I don't think I like Republican senators and Congress people. I
so
don't think I
weird.
do.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And yeah, I would vote for a progressive over Biden in most cases, but I think deferring to some third party that we absolutely know will not get any, like, will not win the electoral vote without abolishing like first past the post, or where did Josiah go? Without abolishing first past the post, all of the ways in which third parties are disadvantaged, let's eliminate those, and then maybe maybe we'll have some like ranked choice voting, and then maybe I'll be fine with Cornel West running. But it's just, it's such an unserious person, and there's so many stakes, especially because like we're essentially like towards progressives, like, do you really want Trump to get 4 more years in office? And I hate doing that again, where I just keep throwing that over and over and over again. But that is the reality that we're
Yes.
living in. That is the reality that like it is Biden versus Trump. We
Yes.
have the incumbent advantage.
Yes.
We have like that is such a huge advantage that we have, is that we have like, it's generally speaking very obvious in politics that if you are in office, politics gears towards the status quo and inertia. And if you are already in office, you are generally going to keep that office. We have
Unless
that
you're a
benefit.
Republican, they tend to choke on the incumbent lead or the incumbent. The last time in
True.
like modern U.S. history that an incumbent has failed, it's been Republican presidents.
Well, it was
It's been
Donald Trump.
Donald
Yeah.
Trump, George H.W. Bush. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, generally speaking, even
Well,
with
and then Carter right before that. So
right. Yeah.
only
But
the last two.
yeah, exactly. Well, of the 3, 2 have been
Two,
Republican
sure.
failures. Yeah. So I said, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
sorry. I'm just
This is
saying
what I mean.
there was
This is
a
what-
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, there was in 1980. Okay, yes,
You're
there
right.
was.
That was 40
And
years
by the
ago.
way,
Okay,
and
fair
by
enough,
the
fair
way,
enough.
let's talk about that. President Carter is on death's door. He's in hospice right now.
Yeah.
And there has been credible reporting. I was in Wisconsin when the story broke, canvassing for the Wisconsin special election, or not the special Supreme Court election.
Supreme Court, yeah.
There was a New York Times op-ed in which one of the Republican strategists involved with this provided firsthand like recounting, because he was in the conversations, that the Reagan, I don't want to say administration because they hadn't been elected yet, but the Reagan campaign was heavily pressuring Iran to not settle the dispute with Carter, so
To
that
make Carter
Reagan,
look shit?
yes. And this is what I'm talking about, how this is nothing new.
That is insane.
The Republican Party, and I don't mean Republican voters. I'm friends with Republican voters. My sisters are Republican voters.
Sure.
I love Republican voters. They're people that I love. The Republican Party, the conservative thought leaders, this is a disgusting, morally reprehensible collective. They are inferior morally, intellectually, and in matters of policy in every single way.
Because I think it's pretty
to the
fair
Democratic
to say.
Party.
I think it's pretty fair to say that that was the deciding factor.
Yes,
for that election.
absolutely. The single
like there was
biggest
there was I like, even saying it was the number one, it was like that was 98% of the reasoning why people didn't vote for Carter was because of that hostage crisis.
And you know what? Let's juxtapose Carter in this respect to Trump, because he's the most recent. Carter was the most recent incumbent Democratic president to lose re-election, and
Yep.
Trump was the most recent incumbent Republican president to lose re-election. Let's compare and contrast these two. Yes, exactly. Arian Collins right here.
There you
Jimmy
go.
Carter builds homes with his hands and Trump steals government documents. So let's juxtapose the two most modern examples of an incumbent failing. Jimmy Carter is just better than Donald Trump.
Facts.
Smarter, a better person. What an icon, a paragon of virtue. So anytime. Go ahead.
Sorry, the more, because I grew up on Carter hate and Reagan love. Like that is, I just grew up in a fairly conservative town. It was in California, but it was like pretty conservative for California. And
Reagan was governor of California.
100%. Everyone loved Reagan. I remember the first progressive I met who fucking hated Reagan. It was like 19 years old, and I was like, oh, I just thought he was like Lincoln, Washington. Like everyone loves this guy. He's just well beloved. And the more I look into his policies, Carter was so much better than all of the hate that he constantly gets from like every side of the aisle. Like even progressives seem to like sometimes shit on him, and it's so weird. Like Carter's policies. I don't know. I think I'm largely in favor of him.
Yes.
But
you're pro Carter.
And especially post presidency. Like he's spent almost the entirety of the last like 40 years, just building homes in like disenfranchised communities, and that like giving to nonprofits. And not to pull the Josiah angle, but we are morally superior in every way. Yeah, go ahead. Got your orgasm off. I've been edging you for an hour now. Finally got you.
I had a moment. I'm flushed right now. Yeah. No, but listen, I mean, at the end of the day, still getting back to the, not just Cornel West, but the broader topic of when and where progressives should deviate, should defy. Again, to me, it's the same thing. It actually ties back to the first topic when it comes to norms and institutions and traditions. Yeah. Progressive defiance is a tool. There are times when progressives should tell the Democratic establishment, no, you will do it our way, or you will feed us more than you're feeding the moderates. You need to do that. And then there are times when progressives just need to take the deal on the table because the alternative is infinitely worse. Harm reduction has to play a role here. So
I think a good
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No,
yeah, I think a good litmus test, generally speaking, like as an example, is like the primary is when progressives should push, and the general is when progressives should fall in line. Like that is generally, and that's largely what I did in 2020. Like I campaigned for both Biden and Warren, depending on essentially, I loved both of them. I donated to both of their campaigns, but during the primary, or sorry,
you donated
during the general,
a feet pic. How did that possibly? You sent pictures of your feet.
So much more money than you thought it did. Then you would be surprised by how much my feet.
Stax's piggies, his toes are the reason that President Biden was inaugurated because of the sheer financial value of your feet. You actually might have committed campaign violations because of the
Is that a problem?
Yes, because no, not because of the
because it was worth so much.
Yes, there are limits, man.
Yeah,
your feet are like a commodity.
That's dark money.
It is
my feet.
I'm sorry, but you were saying, yeah.
No, yeah, I 100% agree that we should fight for better candidates than Biden during the fucking primary, or sorry, during the primaries, during when Trump is president and we need a replacement. We should fight for the most progressive person possible. But God damn it, when people are voting, when Biden wins the primary and we're moving on to the general, we need to realize, okay, we have two choices. We can either waste our vote on Jill Stein. I mean, sorry, I don't know why I said Jill Stein. That was a weird
guilt. Guilt is what that was, baby. Guilt. All right. You felt, and you should feel generally disgusted with yourself. You're a monster. Anyway, I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah. When you vote for Jill Stein, but like you need to acknowledge that essentially you're throwing your vote away because you see Joe Biden and Donald Trump as the same. Like you see the Democratic and the Republican institutions as inherently the same. And Cornel West has said this himself, that he sees Republicans and Democrats as just trees and I forget the exact quote, but he basically just says they're of the same vein, of the same root. And it just feels completely unserious is just the word that I'm going to say constantly over and over about this candidacy. And it's irked me a little bit, mostly because I see myself in people who are voting for Cornel West. And I think that's why I want to speak up so much about it.